Hey traders, happy new year. Checking in on the cryptocurrency space. We have the bulls still with their backs against the wall, needing to hold some key support levels, and I am finding clarity on the 2-day time frame. I will show you why. So first, checking in on the bigger picture. So the dollar had pulled back and confirmed a daily downtrend for the first time in months. Bigger picture, it's still possible this is a very healthy weekly chart. It's still holding higher lows. 95.51 was support, and we held that level at the moment. But during this pullback on the daily time frame here, a lot of commodities saw a lot of bullish action, and crypto and Bitcoin did not really benefit much. And you look at SPY on the daily time frame, SPY bulls are up a little bit today. They're holding on really well. So the bottom line is there's no real reason for weakness as far as the broader market is concerned. No real reason for weakness side today. You could say, well, the dollar is up today, but again, the last 2 weeks, no real reason for weakness in the dollar. But Bitcoin is still struggling. The bulls have not proven anything to us. And I'm finding clarity on a lot of 2-day time frames where we have this equilibrium that we pointed out in a recent video where it's the low, higher the bounce, higher low, double top essentially, triple top, and now a double bottom, higher low still. If the bulls are able to set this convincing higher low and get back over 48,000, then we're going to look for a lower high compared to 52,000 and a continued tightening range. And that could mean things stay real tight for the first week or two in the crypto space. But that means the bulls must prove it to us that this is our 2-day higher low, which they haven't done yet. You can see it's just multiple inside bars right now. And if we look at shorter term timeframes, the daily is struggling at EMA 12 resistance. The 12-hour is struggling at EMA 12 resistance. And just over this past weekend, we've just been chopping around. Not really a lot of anything has been going on. But again, because it's the bulls that have the burden of proof, trading sideways keeps the bears comfortable. There's no pressure on bears to cover. And because we're in a downtrend bigger picture, that is complacency that the bulls want to try and eliminate. So for me, I need to see a break over this recent high of 48.6. If we're going to say, yes, our 2-day higher low is convincingly set, let's now watch that 52,000 resistance and watch for the potential of another lower high and continue tightening range. That's best case scenario for the bulls, in my opinion, short term. Worst case scenario would be dropping down and breaking 45.5, which is a double bottom, because then we're looking down at 42. And that would keep the downtrend on the daily time frame intact. So burden on the bulls. While this has been happening, a whole bunch of individual altcoins have been setting 2-day higher lows. So we know Bitcoin has not set that higher low yet, but you look at Link, 2-day higher low set, and here we are testing resistance. So the altcoins continue to show significant strength comparative to Bitcoin, and Link is just one example, but there's a handful of altcoins that are setting this 2-day higher low. I have organized in my brain the cryptocurrency space in the last 4 or 5 days. There are names that are doing what Bitcoin is doing, just to varying degrees of strength, and then there's names that are completely doing their own thing, like Luna, or names that are not in 2-day equilibriums right now. So that's how I'm distinguishing the sector at this point. And most altcoin bulls have 2-day higher lows already formed, and they would be positioned well if Bitcoin can also form its 2-day higher low. But again, Bitcoin bulls are failing to do so. Right now in the short term, we got a 15-minute oversold bounce. Hourly, we're just looking for a lower high to be the result of any bounce. And you can see we had a little double top at 48, and then we dropped down and broke support. So not really seeing a whole lot of strength. One thing that does stand out to me, and I want to make sure that this is the case, 11:15, we hit the low of the day. You can see this is the stock market open, and we did nothing but pull down, drop down, I should say, 11:15. Then we bounced from there, and I'm looking at the crypto stocks, and look at how much different they are. So MARA here flushed down, hit the low of the day at 9:45, and then a significant higher low at 11:15, and currently in equilibrium. And Riot is doing the same thing, 15-minute equilibrium, but it's just simple to say, the crypto-related coins and the NFT space right now, NFT stocks are all green. So crypto-related stocks are stronger than Bitcoin right now. And that's just something that I keep an eye on for potential clues, not anything that I'm acting on right now, just an observation that I have made on the day. The dominance chart is weak. We know that because many altcoins are showing strength comparative to Bitcoin, setting their 2-day higher lows already. This is a key support level. I know it's a percentage here, but this is a base down here in the 39s. And if the 39s break, the monthly downtrend continues. And for me, that's a good sign because again, altcoins have been stronger than Bitcoin for the most part during this bull market. aside from brief periods where Bitcoin is stronger. And so I want to see that continue. I don't remember the last time I traded Bitcoin or Ethereum. I guess Bitcoin, I had that aggressive position that stopped out, pretty much break even. But I can't remember the last time I traded Ethereum. It's probably been over a month. And I'm focusing on other altcoins that have relative strength, like Luna or like Sol did for a while. So that's my focus as long as Bitcoin is weaker, as long as the dominance chart is dropping. And I'm getting a little bit more interested in Ethereum, but not yet. So Ethereum right now, I'm watching this falling wedge on the daily time frame. And we know in this current bounce, anything under 41.58 is just a daily lower high. So again, look at the bottom of where we came from. And we would have to see a bounce of 20%, more less than that, 16%, if we were going to get back to resistance. So I'm anticipating that this bounce is likely to result in a lower high compared to that level. I'm using the downtrend resistance as a visual guide on this falling wedge. And what I would be interested in is an ETH daily lower high, and then watching this pullback. Two things would have me interested: a daily higher low for a potential bottom fish, or a bear break with zero follow through, keeping the wedge alive. ETH BTC just had a 12-hour falling wedge that broke bull. It's trying to set a weekly higher low. You can see there's no red flags on this weekly consolidation on ETH BTC as long as EMA 12 remains support, which it certainly is doing at this point. So as long as ETH BTC holds weekly EMA 12, I'm going to be keeping an eye out for a bullish entry in Ethereum, but not until daily consolidation starts, because a daily lower high is the most likely scenario for me. Still keeping an eye on Litecoin. When I'm checking it on Litecoin every day, I'm not looking at Litecoin US dollar pairing. I'm just checking the BTC pairing, because all I know that I want to see is a breakout of this long drawn out pattern. All these resistance rejections, this pattern is 3 years, almost 4 years old at this point. Every bounce is a lower high, lower high. We're sideways for 5 weeks. Nothing's going on. If we get a bull break, I'm not acting on it, because anything under 4425 is just a lower high. But if we get that bull break, that tells me, okay, keep paying attention, because this time frame, this pattern keeps tightening up. And at that point, it'll just be a weekly equilibrium. I won't care about trend lines. At that point, I'll just be using these price levels as my guide. But again, not falling asleep on Litecoin. I would give up on this pattern with a clear bear break and follow through to fresh lows. But in the absence of that, it's something I check in on every day just to see where do we stand in this pattern. Again, nothing that I'm acting on. I'm just sticking it on the back burner. Don't want to confuse, it's not a back burner trade, but I'm sticking it on the shelf and know that this will be something I potentially focus on later this year. Sol USD. So Sol USD saw a bounce, and if we go to the 2-day time frame, it is a low, high of this bounce, higher low trying to form and failing to do so, just like Bitcoin. Personally, I'm still in my swing position, and at this point, after having an initial average of initial entry of 151, sold partial, my average was now at 145 or so. I sold half at 201, had a good sell there, and so now my average is under $100, but I will exit if we see a bear break of 167. Reason being, bears will be back in control of a daily downtrend at that point. And yes, it will be possible to just set a weekly higher low and regain control, but it'll be too close of a bear flag on the weekly time frame. And so I want to protect against that, and I would rather lock in profit and rebuy higher if I have to, if the bulls end up saving things. But again, the fact that Bitcoin's not proving anything to the bulls, and the fact that we're close to confirming a daily downtrend again, that would be enough for me to be back to all cash and lock in the profit on that trade. ADA is the same thing. So if we drop down and break 128 with a bit of follow through, I always give wiggle room. Whenever I'm saying a level, assume that I'm giving space for wiggle room. But if that level breaks, it'll be a confirmed daily downtrend, and I will be back to all cash. My break even is not as comfortable, but it is under 118 because I sold half in the 153, 154 area. And again, the weekly bear flag is on the table for everybody, for Bitcoin and for a lot of these altcoins. A lot of altcoins are stronger, but not everybody. Luna USDT, keeping an eye on this rising wedge. And if I'm a bear, I'm starting to get a little aggressive. And the reason being, I'm scouting a daily lower high as the most likely scenario due to the size of this pullback, anything under 103.60. And I've now identified a shorter term pattern, which is shaping up, in my opinion, to give us the indication that that daily lower high is being set. This is a rising wedge. I drew this yesterday when we were testing this resistance right here. And when I pull it up again today, and I can say, okay, we rejected from resistance and then bounced off support, all that does is validate yes, this is a good pattern to be watching for me. So I would be watching for a bear break of this pattern to indicate a daily lower high is being set. And if we do break that pattern bearish, I would then be using the top of that move at that point as a stop rather than the stop that's 10% higher, because the risk and reward for a bear wouldn't be good off of that level, but it could be good off of this level. Again, assuming that we break the pattern bear from here. I'm in a Luna position right now. I played this bounce at 84. Had a real good entry at 84.10 on W Luna on Coinbase, and was going to enter a couple orders, but only one filled. Sold half just under 86. So break even stop, and I've just let it ride for days. And so now that I recognize this bearish pattern, I'm going to be looking to lock in all of this position if we see a daily lower high set. So I am going to be, not yet, because we're in a 4-hour uptrend, and it is possible we break 94 and keep this move going, but it is on the chopping block as far as I'm looking to lock in that profit shortly. And that would be the first win of 2022 for any trades. Other than that, Luna BTC, do we have any clues? Nope, it's standing out stronger than the US dollar pairing, and it's testing its recent high. So that is one thing that is keeping me holding a little bit longer. And we would have to reject from 204 and see a tightening daily range if that US dollar pairing is going to set that daily lower high. So keeping an eye on the 4-hour uptrend here as well. And again, always watching the BTC pairings for clues, but in this instance, I'm not seeing any clues for the bears on Luna at this point. Otherwise, we got XTZ giving some strength here, the 2-day time frame. Again, this is one of our stronger names. So low, high of the bounce, 2-day higher low is set, and we're testing resistance or approaching resistance. Again, while Bitcoin is still not even giving us a 2-day higher low at this point. So the bulls still have a lot of proving to do on Bitcoin, not so much on these altcoins. There are some altcoins that are positioned very well if the Bitcoin bulls can get their act together. FTT, 2-day higher low is set. Not nearly as close to resistance, but again, lots of altcoins with the 2-day higher low set. So that is the time frame that I am finding clarity on these tightening ranges. And I know the Bitcoin bears still have full short-term control unless we get over 80, that's the wrong number, unless we get over 48.6 thousand. So a simple statement, if we are under 48.6 thousand, the bears have short-term control. That has to change for a short-term shift. I appreciate you watching. Happy New Year. I put out a New Year's video as far as resolutions and reviewing our trades and what we're looking at next year. Check that out on our YouTube channel, and we'll certainly be seeing you lots this year unless I die. Good words. Adventure time, 1.5 million. We're going to Fifth Water Hot Springs in Utah. And it's a really cool spot. This is walking up to it, and this is a river. It looks like you're playing putt-putt mini golf, but it's just the minerals and sulfur in the water, making it that aqua blue with a bunch of different little pools that people have, established rocks around to make different depths and different temperatures. And again, just another one where you hike up a few miles and you camp. And yeah, there's a bunch of people there in the middle of the day, but if you are there at sunset when it's dark, or you're there first thing in the morning, really it's first thing in the morning because people stay up late. But if you wake up with the sun and you go somewhere you want to be alone, you're usually going to be alone. There's usually not many other people that are going to wake up that early. So just a nice river in a nice little canyon with trees and a nice little soak. From there, went to Arches National Park, and Arches is right near Canyonlands National Park. So if you do one, you got to do the other. Went to Arches and then Canyonlands, and had some nice memories. I remember I took a shower in a downpour where I was sitting in my car and it was pouring rain and I hadn't showered in a while, and I figured might as well bust out the Bronner's and shower in the downpour. So I did that. Camped just outside of the park. Don't think there, actually no, I camped in the park. That's right. So there's just a bunch of arches, and it's just the way that the wind erodes the sandstone, which is pretty soft. You could definitely chisel away with it with a chisel. But it's all different kinds of formations and nice vast expanses and red rocks and interesting. That's going to fall sometime soon, you got to figure. But just a cool spot with a bunch of arches. So I ended up picking a spot to camp on by just walking towards the end of the trail and being alone
and on some rocks and waiting for the sunset. There's me. And it looked like it was the Lion King in terms of the vast African expanse, but it's not. That's where my tent was. And for the sunset, there was actually some cool rounded rocks that I was sleeping on. And again, definitely need an inflatable air mattress when sleeping on rocks. There's also nowhere to stake in your tent. So I had to put my water jug on one end and my bag on the other to keep the tent expanded. But again, it's the kind of thing where if you're camping out in the open like that, exposed, you're going to wake up with the sun. You know, it's going to be shining right on you. And that gets you starting the day before everybody else. And I find that in the last few years, as I've really been smashing it with all my effort and time into trading, that getting up before the sun every day, including most weekend days, allows me to get a ton accomplished while everybody else is just waking up. So if you want to get ahead of the game, put in more time and effort and wake up early. There's the sunset, and that's it. We're going to go to Canyonlands next. Canyonlands is an epic place. Encountered some cool people there. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Adventure time number million. We got, where are we? We are in fall 5th. Shut up. Shut up.